Welcome to Know Before You Go. I'm Naj Ali Khan. We welcome you to the Coast to Coast Conference. This is an important time in public education, and your stories and experiences matter. Whether you're fighting for education dollars, student rights, teacher preparation, your commitment to California public school students is more important than ever before. And the mission to support students rests in informing policymakers both locally and of course in Washington, D.C., which is why you're participating in this Coast to Coast conference. During this program, we'll discuss some of the key issues that you'll be talking about, that you'll be telling stories about when you meet with lawmakers in Washington, D.C. But let's bring in our directors first. Patrick O'Donnell is the Director of Governmental Relations at the California School Boards Association, and Yvonne Carrillo is ACSA Senior Director of Policy and Governmental Relations. Patrick and Yvonne, great to have you here on Know Before You Go. Yvonne, let me ask you first, what is the general perspective right now about what is happening at the federal level from the field here in California?
Generally speaking, there's the high level of concern. There's also a high level of uncertainty about what's taking place and what's to come, and folks trying to make sense of everything that's coming at them at once. I think that's exactly why we're seeing the unprecedented levels of numbers and in terms of the number of participants for Coast to Coast. There's going to be more than 320 California public school leaders who will be making the trek to our nation's capital, advocating on behalf of students. This is a significant increase from what we've seen in years past. Excited for us to be out there.
And Patrick, you've been in the lawmaker chair. You've been on the other side of the storytelling. Tell me about that experience from the lawmaker side when you're listening to the stories being told by educators. How important is it to be able to hear those localized stories?
Well, I can't underscore enough how important that is. Listen, this is the time to be in Washington, D.C. because of all what's going on. California school administrators and California school members definitely need to have a presence in Washington, D.C. But back to your question, what really resonates with legislators? Well, certainly there's the academic response, which is, gee, we want them to know what California schools need and what they don't need. But really, it's more than that. It's the personal stories. They want to hear the stories. They want to hear why you do what you do and really what you need to do what you do. So what we ask when you're heading back to Washington, D.C. is you take your personal story, take the talking points that we're going to give you, the advocacy training that we're going to share with you, and weave your own personal stories into your discussions with legislators from Washington, D.C. Because facts are harder to remember than stories. So again, stories are so important. And that's what we're doing with this trip. We're taking our stories, our collective stories, back to Washington, D.C. and advocating for California schools. A very, very important moment to do so.
Yvonne, you just heard Patrick say a great line right there. Stories are more important than data. I want to ask you, since you've been to several of our Coast to Coast conferences, what do you expect lawmakers to get? What are you hoping they get by the time our participants leave Washington?
They're going to hear loud and clear from us what's needed to support students, what's needed to support public education here in California. I mean, everything that Patrick just described is right on, and what makes this experience so impactful is that every single California congressional member is going to hear a unified message in terms of what's needed in our public schools. So all of them being hit at the same time in that unified fashion is incredibly impactful. And the issues that we're advocating for are nonpartisan. We're going to be hitting both sides of the aisle. Again, we expect to hit every single California congressional member. And our issues are student focused and student centered. So them hearing loud and clear about this is going to have influence. It is powerful, and I'm certain when we see the dust settle in terms of these policy and budget decisions that are made, we're going to be celebrating and seeing a connection between what we're advocating here for as part of Coast to Coast, and again where the dust ultimately settles.
All right. Yvonne Carrillo is ACSA Senior Director of Policy and Governmental Relations. Patrick O'Donnell, the Director of Governmental Relations at the California School Boards Association. Yvonne and Patrick, thanks so much for joining us. We're going to go ahead and switch gears now and talk about the issues that you'll be advocating for. Erica Hoffman is the Deputy Legislative Director of State and Federal Programs at CSBA, and Diana Vu, ACSA Legislative Advocate. Erica and Diana, thanks so much for being with us. Diana, can you tell us about what issues we'll be advocating for in DC?
Yeah, absolutely. So as we know, there's a lot going on right now in DC, and there's a lot we can talk about, but we've really narrowed it down to three main buckets. So that way we can take a deeper dive into these issues. One of them being school finance. So we're going to ask for the continued support of title programs. We're also going to maintain our consistent push for IDEA full funding, and we're going to support programs that allow California to continue to provide universal meals for all of our kids. As part of school finance, we're also going to incorporate recent actions like the EOs that have impacted that impact immigration, LGBTQ plus rights, and the trickle-down effect of the anti-DEI initiatives. We're also going to talk about the proposed closure of the U.S. Department of Education as well. For this session in particular, in order to prepare, I think polling numbers, well, I know polling numbers is what will be necessary. How much, you need to know how much federal aid you're receiving, what you're using it for, what that current impact looks like, and provide scenarios like what would happen if you lost these dollars? What is the effect on the students, the programs, education as a whole? And as you've already heard, congressional members and staff want to know your story. They want to know what's happening in the community, but also including these hard numbers is going to be one of the most effective ways to get the advocacy heard.
And Erica, tell us what remaining issues will be covered.
The remaining issues we're going to have you talk about, and we're going to try to provide you information on, are things like secure rural schools. This is a program that's very important to a lot of our rural and mountainous school districts because it's funding that's provided by the feds to both counties and schools for those that don't have a tax base. So it's desperately needed. We're going to talk workforce issues, both retention of teachers, recruitment of teachers, ensuring that hopefully we can get some grant funding for various programs to make sure that we're training our teachers so they can be the best they can. We're also going to talk workforce housing. For a lot of you, that's become a huge issue. Making sure that teachers can be housed in the districts where they're teaching in. And then finally, we've got some issues with regards to technology and students, continuation of E-rate, and also cybersecurity, which is still just such a huge issue for all of you out there. The one thing I will say in bringing numbers, write them up, put them on a piece of paper that you can leave with that district office or with your member's office, because that way they can go back then when these questions come up later in the session and go, oh, hey, my district had some numbers that my member can use on the floor or my member can use later on. So we strongly urge you to bring that information. Hopefully we're going to have a really good time back there. We've also got a couple of fun things going on. You know, we've got the reception, which I think will be great fun for all of you, and you'll actually get to meet your members and see them if it's a normal Tuesday night at the Capitol, running in and out of the hearing room. So we look forward to it. Thank you.
All right. Erica Hoffman, Deputy Legislative Director of State and Federal Programs at CSBA. Diana Vu, ACSA Legislative Advocate. Diana and Erica, great having you here on Know Before You Go. Folks, want to let you know the 2025 Coast to Coast event app is available for download. You can scan the QR code to get started. Also want to let you know issue briefings will be emailed to everyone on April 15th. So check your email, the email that you used for registration for Coast to Coast for the issue briefings, and you'll be able to take those along with you. So happy to have you here on Know Before You Go. Enjoy your trip east, and we look forward to many successes at the 2025 Coast to Coast Conference.
A special thanks to all of our sponsors of the 2025 Coast to Coast Federal Advocacy Trip. Their support helps bring California's education leaders to the table in Washington, D.C.